At 78 years old, Elton John, the legendary singer, pianist, and songwriter who gave the world classics like Rocket Man and Tiny Dancer, faces a heartbreaking tragedy that goes far beyond the glitz of his decades-long career. For years, Elton was larger than life, dazzling audiences with his flamboyant costumes, soaring voice, and undeniable charisma. He wasn't just a musician, he was an icon whose songs defined generations. Yet behind the glittering surface of his fame lies a story of health struggles, personal sacrifices, and the difficult reality of stepping away from the spotlight that has defined his entire life. The first tragedy Elton faces is physical. After decades of touring and performing, his body has begun to show the wear and tear of his relentless career. He has openly battled multiple health issues in recent years, including hip surgery and respiratory infections that forced him to cancel performances. For a man who has spent nearly his entire life on stage, the realization that his body can no longer keep pace with his passion is deeply painful. The stage was always his sanctuary, a place where he felt alive and connected to millions. Now, each canceled tour date is a reminder that time is catching up with him. Equally heartbreaking is the emotional toll of leaving behind the life he loved most. Elton announced that his Farewell Yellow Brick Road tour would mark his official retirement from touring, signaling the end of an era. While fans celebrated his final concerts as historic moments, Elton himself admitted that saying goodbye to the road was bittersweet. For decades, he thrived on the adrenaline of performing, the roar of the crowd, and the knowledge that his music was touching lives in real time. Walking away from that stage is not just the end of his career, it's the closing of a chapter that defined who he is. Beyond his career, Elton has also faced the painful struggles of addiction and mental health. Though he has been sober for over 3 decades, the scars of his battles with drugs, alcohol, and self-destruction remain part of his story. He has spoken openly about how addiction nearly killed him, and how he often turned to destructive habits to cope with the pressure of fame and the loneliness of his personal life. Even in recovery, reflecting on those dark years brings sadness, as he acknowledges how close he came to losing everything. There is also the tragedy of personal sacrifice. Elton's devotion to his music meant spending long stretches of time away from his husband, David Furnish, and their 2 children. While he has often said that his family is his greatest joy, the years lost to touring and the demands of fame weigh heavily on him. At 78, he treasures every moment with them, yet he also feels the sting of time that cannot be reclaimed. Elton's legacy is secure. He has sold hundreds of millions of records, won countless awards, and even earned a knighthood. But his later years reveal the fragile reality behind the legend. The costumes, the piano, and the spotlight may have made him immortal in the eyes of fans, but Elton himself is just a man, vulnerable to age, regret, and heartbreak. The tragedy of Elton John at 78 is not one of scandal, but of time itself. He has given the world his music, his soul, and his story, yet now he faces the most difficult chapter of all, saying goodbye to the life that made him who he is. For fans, it is heartbreaking to see their hero struggle. For Elton, it is the painful truth of being a legend who must finally step off the stage.